So let's hear a nice round of applause for Bladimir Mercedes.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Good. All right. I feel like we're running a little bit here. So how many people here have assets? Raise your hand if you have assets. Let's see some hands go up. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, good. Well, assets can really be a lot of things. Asset is defined as something that has value, and something that makes you money. So your time can be an asset. So can be your credit. Your mindset can be an asset. Your looks. So asset, depending on your mindset, can be a lot of different things. It's not just a house, a car, or money in the bank, or cash, stocks. Assets can be a lot of things. It really can. So how many people here have assets? I want to see some more hands go up. Your value. Asset, anything that you have that has value is an asset. How many people have assets? All right. I feel like this room is getting a little sleepy here. That's not how I present. I know this is like a classroom type of style, but I want everybody to stand up for a second. Just get on your feet. I don't want everybody to be sleeping. Just stand up for a second. All right, let's do this together. Yeah. I know all of you here in this room have assets, even if you don't think so. So I want everybody to shake your assets right now. Shake those assets. Yeah. Shake them assets. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Have a seat. I feel like I woke some people up. My name is Bladimir Mercedes. I am a business loan broker and a credit expert. I own two companies, a credit repair company, 12 years, and a business loan broker operation. I'll tell you a little bit about my background, where I come from. I was born in the Dominican Republic, came here to the United States in 1989, came to this wonderful country, seeking the same opportunities that all of us who came from other countries are here for. Just a better life for myself and my family. And I gotta tell you, it's been a great run. I'm so blessed to be in this country. I used to live in Providence, Rhode Island when I first came here to the United States. Went to high school there, Central High School. Graduated, went to Rhode Island College. Then I quit college because I was bored and joined the Marine Corps. So I'm a U.S. Marine. Hoorah! And some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, first I'll tell you a little bit about both of my companies. Like I said, Mercedes Enterprises is a consumer credit repair company. And we've been at it for a long time. We've helped tens of thousands of people restore their credit. And American Capital Express, my business loan operation, was born out of the need that some of my credit repair clients had. Some of them were business owners and they had issues with their personal credit. They were trying to repair their credit so they could get business loans. And I saw an opportunity. I immediately turned it into a vertical. I started working with other business loan operations. And then I decided to create my own entity. And we've been funding millions of dollars ever since. And I've had that company for about 5 years. So before I get into the credit stuff, I know we had an attorney just speak right now, my good friend Abe, but let me give you a full disclosure. I always like to do this. None of the information that I'm giving you is legal in nature. I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm not giving you accounting advice. Seek the advice of your professionals for that kind of stuff. So none of this stuff, all of these is educational in nature. However, I'm using facts in everything that I'm using in my presentation. Look, credit is important. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past couple of decades, how many people have been living under a rock for the last couple of decades? How many people have been smoking rocks for the last couple of decades? Credit is going to be there. It's going to be everywhere for you. So just to set up some of the topics that I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to be giving two presentations. The first one is going to be on personal credit. So the aspects that I'm going to be talking about personal credit are going to be, some of them pretty basic, just to make sure that I don't lose anyone. And to set the expectations right, any of these topics that I'm going to be speaking about, you can do a 3-day boot camp on each one of them. So this stuff can get pretty deep. Obviously, we don't have that kind of time. I have resources for you as well after the presentation that I can email you through George or directly. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to cover is going to be pretty basic. However, I'll answer any type of questions that you guys have, and we can get down and dirty with any of the topics. So I'm also going to be talking about business credit. Now, you heard some stuff about personal guarantees and, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna get really deep on that if you guys really want. How to avoid a personal guarantee on one of your companies. There's no way to avoid it unless your company has business credit on its own. And that can be pretty simple, but it's gonna take some intentional things for you to do in order to be able to get that personal guarantee waived when you're getting credit cards and loans. It's very difficult. I do most of the time. I've seen very few that where they waive the personal guarantee. And I'm also going to be speaking basics on business funding. Again, some of these topics can get pretty deep. This is not the most exciting subject. I mean, it's not sexy, but you know that's what we're here for. So those are some of the things that I'm going to speak to you about, just to set the expectations. So before I even start talking about personal credit, what I want to say is, look, your personal credit is an asset. It really is. It gives you access to money. You know, everywhere you go, you're going to need your personal credit. How many people have checked their credit reports recently, like in the last 30 days? That's a lot of hands. That's good. It's a lot of hands. That's outstanding. Now, out of those of you who raise your hands, how many feel like you fully understood why your credit is what it is? Whether it is excellent, whether you have an 800 credit score, how many of you feel like you understand every single aspect? Well, give yourselves a hand. That is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of people that fully understand why your credit is in a certain way, whether it's good or bad. You understand what's driving that credit report. Look, you're going to be more empowered when you understand things. There's a saying that I love. The quote, I forgot who said it, but it says, "In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." And that quote is subject to a lot of interpretation. And my interpretation of it is, when you don't know a lot of things, you're going to be guided by some people who don't know a lot either. That's what it is. So it's important to be informed, especially when it comes to your personal credit, because it touches so many aspects of your life that it's just, you know, it's almost irresponsible not to understand what's going on, especially when there are problems. And you don't choose to do business with the credit bureaus. You don't. You have no choice. You don't choose to do business with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. If you have a social security number, which I'm pretty sure that everyone here does, they got to follow you. And on your personal credit, that's how it works. You know, stuff is being reported about you all the time. So it's important for you to understand how it is that credit works, and it will empower you to make certain decisions that will be beneficial to you. So I'm going to lay down some of the basics. I'm going to show you what drives a typical credit score. And by typical credit score, I'm referring more to the FICO model. There's a whole bunch of different credit score models. That's why I said these topics can get pretty deep. As if it wasn't confusing enough, there are different score models that have different ranges. So you ever find yourself like checking your score somewhere and then going somewhere else and the score is different, even if it's the same like credit bureau? Like if you saw your Experian credit report on Credit Karma, and then you go to your dealership and the score is a little bit different. That ever happened to anybody? That's because they're using different models. So just so that, you know, to put everything into context, I'm going to be speaking a little bit more about the FICO model, which is what most of your lenders are going to be using when making lending decisions. And I'm going to show you what drives that credit score. How many people want to see that? What drives your credit score? And this is all basic information. You can find it anywhere. But, you know, it's good that somebody puts it in front of you. So your credit score is driven by many different factors. And the most important ones, obviously, are your payment history and the amounts you owe. But there are little things like the account diversity, like you know, how many different types of accounts you have in your credit report. That counts for about 15% of your credit score, believe it or not. So if you only have credit cards in your credit profile, you know, you're missing out. If you don't have a mortgage, if you don't have any auto loans, if you don't have any personal loans, if you have a really good range of accounts in your credit mix, your credit tends to be a little bit higher because of that, to the tune of about 15%. Then there is inquiries. I know people think that inquiries really kill your credit score. It only accounts for about 10% of your credit score. I've had people, credit repair clients and business loan clients that call me, "Blad, I went to this dealership and they ran my credit like 30 times. How many people have heard that story about, you know, or somebody, or has it happened to you? And my credit score like dropped like 150 points. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. It's impossible. It can't happen. Your credit score will not drop 150 points just because of inquiries alone. There are other factors driving the credit score. A lot of people think it is, and then I have to explain it to them, and I have to show it to them that there are other things like their utilization or accounts that they were late on or accounts that they closed or accounts that they opened that ended up affecting their credit score, but they think that they're attributing the entire situation to the increase, and that's not always true. I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit fast, it's because I know we're doing a little bit bad on time, but it's been good, right? It's been a good run so far. Have you guys enjoying yourself? This is good information? Outstanding. We're going to take a break soon right after my presentation. So the history of your credit, meaning how old your accounts are, on average, also counts for about 15% of your credit score. So if you have a whole bunch of accounts that were open like in 2000, and then you go and open a new account, that changes the average length of the accounts in your credit report, and that can affect your credit in a negative way as well. So sometimes you open an account and you see your score go down a little bit, or a lot. It could be because that factor is being affected as well. But those factors are minor compared to the amounts that you owe, especially on credit cards or revolving credit. When you're talking about credit cards that have a limit and you get closer to that limit, it starts bringing down your credit. And if you max them all, it will tank your credit. I've seen credit scores go down 100 points or better, or worse, just because of utilization alone. Good news is that's a temporary problem. If you're paying on time, as long as you pay that debt, the credit score can come back up. But that does affect your credit in ways that's more important than anything else, and to the tune of about 30% of your credit score. Now, the most important thing on your credit report by far is your payment history. How do you pay on time? Do you pay on time? How do you pay your bills? The less late payments that you have, and especially if you have none, the better your credit will be. And that's extremely important because as you're going to see, some of this stuff is going to tie into other parts of the presentation. Your credit is an asset. When you're building any kind of business, whether you need to finance properties, whether you need business loans, lines of credit, whatever it is that you need, they use your credit for just about everything. And I'm going to show you some of the uses of the credit that are pretty obvious. You're going to be like, thank you, Captain Obvious, but then maybe some of them you didn't hear about. So your credit can be used for anything for, to finance your home or investment properties. Everybody knows that. They're going to need your personal credit for that. There's no way around it. If you're going to get a mortgage from a bank, they're going to need to check your personal credit. That's something that we all know. You're going to need your personal credit for business loans as well. Like I said, I do business loans every day, and I've seen very few that get done without a personal guarantee. Almost every loan that I do has a personal guarantee, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that some more. Why so few business owners have business credit, and I'm going to tell you, it's actually amazingly easy to build, and it's intentional. And look, you got to pay your bills on time. I know it sounds kind of obvious, and you want to empower yourself because at the end of the day, you're going to be hurting yourself a lot more. It's a lot more expensive to walk around with bad credit than it is to fix it. Shit happens. I've had bad credit before. I had my identity stolen. I had a failing business where I lost everything, and my credit suffered. I had to give a car back. I'm not totally unfamiliar with what it's like to have bad credit, but I bounced back. I took action. And if there are some of you in the room, which I'm not going to put you in the spot, I know it's kind of difficult to let everybody know that you have credit issues, but what are you doing about it? You need to take action. You can't walk around with bad credit if you can do something about it. Is that your situation? Is that really what's happening in your life? Is that the best reflection of who you are and where you are today? You need to take action, because that's what the lenders are going to see. They're going to see somebody that's distressed, that has problems, and that's how they're going to view you. That the corporations and governments cannot discriminate against the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, or your religious beliefs. But I don't even want to call it discrimination, but they can definitely decline you for loans and deny you opportunities because of your credit. So you need to keep that in mind and always pay your bills on time. It is extremely important. Or take action if you have credit issues, whether you do it yourself, you learn more about what it is that needs to get done, whether you get somebody to help you, or whether you hire somebody to help you. We're here to help. I'm not here to sell you anything, but if I've earned your trust by the end of the day today, you want to reach out. I do have a team of people, and we can help you with that kind of situation. Whether it's just educating you, it doesn't have to lead to a sale. Or doing a consultation, we can tell you what to do. Free consultation, we can tell you what to do so that you can improve your credit. But you need to take action if you have credit issues. So again, going back to some of the stuff that you can get with credit or that your credit is used for: car loans, obviously, equipment loans as well. We also, they also use your credit for personal loans and student loans as well. Those are some of the obvious things. Some of the less obvious things that credit is used for are insurance. And that whether that's auto insurance, life insurance, or otherwise, credit is used for that as well. There's a whole bunch of, the list was really long and the presentation is kind of short, so I had to cut it back. Also employment and even security clearance in the government and other organizations. Credit is used for that kind of stuff. Your credit is everywhere. You can't avoid it. It's something that you have to stay on top of. If you have great credit, congratulations. You know, you're like step ahead of the game. If you don't have good credit, then you need to take action. That's kind of like the one thing that I want you to take away today from this presentation is taking action. So I'm going to show you some of the do's and don'ts that are, again, kind of obvious when it comes to your personal credit. So some of the do's, you know, check your credit report regularly. You know, there's tons of resources out there. I'm not here to promote anybody or any company, but how many people have heard of Credit Karma? Yeah, great. It's a great service. It's free. I always have the mentality that there's really nothing out there for free. You ever heard that before? Nothing in life is free? And if it's free, you're the product. So they do sell you a lot. You know, with the data, with the explosion and the revolution of technology that we have and artificial intelligence right now, your information is at risk. So you kind of need to keep that in mind. I mean, they're sending your data to everywhere. That's why they're approving you or pre-approving you for offers, and that can have its own set of risks, you know, out there. So if you want a free service where you can be checking your credit report, that's a great resource. If not, there are other services in which you can actually pay in order to get the credit monitoring. I can refer you to a few as well. You can find your own, but do stay on top of your credit. Check your credit report regularly. And did I mention that your credit, your personal credit, is an asset? I mentioned that before, right? All right, listen, you want to protect your assets. So there is something called identity theft insurance. I was a victim of identity theft, so this is something that hits home every time I'm speaking about this subject, because I went through the headaches of trying to clear my good name for stuff that I didn't do. So you can get a service that has identity theft protection and insurance, and just, you know, pay the price of protecting your stuff, especially if you have excellent credit or if you're on your way to build excellent personal credit. Always pay your bills on time. Again, guys, it's going to be more costly for you to repair the damages that are done if you don't pay your bills on time. It's going to be more costly. It's going to deny you opportunities for you and your family, you know, investment opportunities, business opportunities. You need to pay your bills on time. The only reason that the only excuse that you should have not to pay a bill on time if it's the decision between putting food on your table for your family or paying that bill. And that kind of says that you're in a very tough situation. I mean, it sucks, but that's the only reason. Otherwise, be responsible. Pay your bills on time. The rewards are going to be amazing for you when you're a good payer for everything. Keep your credit accounts open. When possible, don't close accounts unless you have a problem with a creditor or you just can't deal with them anymore. You know, if you have a bank that you just don't want to do business with and you have a real good reason, sometimes walking away from that bank, you're gonna say, "Oh my God, I hate this bank. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna close this account." Be very careful with that before you do that, especially if it's an older account, because you could be hurting yourself. It could drop your score. You want to have your older accounts open, so be careful. You know, just make sure you have a real reason why you want to walk away. It wasn't just you got a bad rep on the phone and you just didn't like the way things went that day. You could be hurting yourself, you know, by walking away from that relationship. Also, keep your credit card balances as low as possible. Look at your credit almost like an illusion. All right, this is good for you. Don't buy things you can't afford, and when you have credit cards, you're gonna save money on interest if you keep the balances low. That's gonna be good for you. It's gonna be good for your utilization. If you're doing business, and a lot of the people here, that's what you're here for. You're here to create a real estate business. I'm gonna show you another way to raise money using credit that doesn't affect your personal credit as much. How many people wanna hear that? All right, I'm gonna show you how to get into business credit, and then you can kind of do things a little bit differently and max those cards out, which don't report to your personal credit, and then keep your personal credit reports, your personal credit balances low on your credit cards. Dispute errors and inconsistencies on your personal credit report, if you have them. Whether you do it yourself or you hire somebody, don't just sit there and take it. If you got problems on your credit report, you need to take action, and you need to be proactive and look at these things. Is this balanced correctly? Was this account really open, in 2018? Do I really owe this balance? If there's anything that you disagree on any of the line items on your credit report, once you check it, these are things you can dispute. The law works in your favor. That's what credit repair companies really do. And by the way, I'm here to tell you something. It's a secret. Credit repair is not guaranteed. So don't mess up your credit thinking that somebody else is going to come and solve the problems. I have a credit repair company. I'm known in the credit repair industry. It's not a guaranteed service. You cannot legally guarantee the outcome of a credit repair dispute. It's a game of cat and mouse and chess at the same time, when you're chasing the creditor and sending them letters and using other tactics that sometimes work, but sometimes they don't. Credit repair is no guaranteed service. Always protect your credit and dispute errors if you find them on your credit report. Also, create a plan to pay off your high interest debt and then stick to it. It's always much better for you to have low balances and have all these high limit credit that you're using responsibly. That's a great way to keep your personal credit. I'm going to talk about some of the don'ts, and we're doing horrible on time, just like I thought we would. These are some of the don'ts on your personal credit. Don't go over the limit on your personal credit cards. I mean, that's really bad. Again, thank you, Captain Obvious. But it's something that you want to avoid at all times, and if you do, make sure you correct that stuff as soon as possible. Don't ever pay late. I mean, I'll keep on mentioning it all the time. You should not pay late. If you know that something is going to be late, especially stuff that reports on your personal credit. Just don't do it because it's going to come back and hurt you. Don't go sign for anything that you're not willing to take to assume the debt completely. People have problems. Family members are going to call you, especially when you have great credit, and they're going to ask you to co-sign. Listen, I'm telling you, unless you're ready to pay that debt and take over that debt, don't do it because it's more likely than not that you're going to end up taking over that debt. How many people agree with this? You've done it. You've coached. Yeah, people. I mean, it's really bad, and then you can end up hurting the relationship. You can end up hurting the relationship because now you're gonna have to go, after them, and there's so much at risk that sometimes you're better off just, unless it's a real emergency, or maybe one of your kids. And look, if you get into this really deep, I can show you how to build credit for your kids as well, so that then when they're old enough to like drive a car or something like that, they can get this stuff on their own name if they don't buy the cash. So just don't do it, guys. So try to avoid it unless you're fully willing to take over that debt. Don't close any credit card accounts right before you're going for a loan. I've seen multi-million-dollar transactions fall through because of these. I had a client one time. We were doing a business loan for $1.3 million, and he went ahead and closed a whole bunch of accounts a couple of weeks before the closing. And when they ran the credit report again, the credit score was like 105 points less than what it was. So if you're in the middle of a closing, a house or anything big, don't close any accounts before you do that. Is that a question?
Yes.
All right, I was going to do a Q&A at the end, but go ahead, you jump right in. It's okay.
I don't want to forget it.
You don't want to forget it? Write it down. No, just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
If the creditor closes it on you for not using it.
There's nothing you can do about it. That's, if they close it due to inactivity, there's nothing you can do about it. Look, if you... It can. It depends on your credit profile, whether you have other accounts that can kind of replace that account that if that was, let's say that was your only open credit card, that you have nothing else open and they close it on you, it's going to affect you, almost 100% is going to affect you in a negative way. So.
What if I don't need credit? What if I'm someone that pays for things in cash? When do you recommend that people start to maybe build credit up if I don't necessarily need it?
Okay. But this is saying, damn, you guys are ahead of these Q&A. Q&A was coming next, by the way, but it's a great question. I'm going to answer it right now. So one of my favorite sayings is, no one's credit is as good as their money. So look, when you don't really need credit, you still want to build it. And the best thing that you can do is just build the credit and then do what I do, which is use the credit card and pay it off. I'm blessed enough, it wasn't always like that, to be able to do that. But you want to use your credit cards and just pay it off before you owe them any kind of interest. And that's what you should do if you're a cash buyer all the time. I mean, that's a great way to, you're always going to have excellent credit, and you're not really going to need these creditors to, finance your personal lifestyle. And you're going to get, and that's rewarded even better when you do things like that. They're going to throw all kinds of offers at you, as long as you have credit open as well that you're using responsibly. Nothing turns on a creditor more than seeing that you have all this available credit, and then you're like, you have your balances always low and you always pay on time. They love it. They just throw all kinds of stuff at you. Don't close all these credit cards. Don't ever do that. That's a mistake. Keep them open unless you really hate that creditor, or unless they stand against your values or something. But just don't close that stuff, because it can hurt you more than it can hurt them. And don't transfer balances to credit card accounts with lower limits. No, I mean, that doesn't even make sense, but that's something that people do all the time. I'm gonna open it up for Q&A right now. We're doing horrible on time, and then we're gonna take a break after that. Andy's gonna come in and just kind of let you know. But any questions that you have so far about personal credit, other than the questions that were asked already? Any questions?
Could it be negative to pay off a loan before the principal is, not the principal, but paying off a loan before it's completely needs to be paid off, like paying off extra? Would that hurt things negatively if you were going to go buy a home?
There's two different things, paying off extra and paying it off completely. Your question was, can it affect you negatively if you have a term loan, let's say a personal loan or an auto loan, and you pay it off before it comes to term? It can hurt you. Term loans are a little bit different than revolving credit, like than credit cards. Credit cards are always revolving. You want to keep all your balances available. The best available balance that you can have is not that 30% magic number type of thing. It's zero. If you can pay off your credit cards to zero every month, you're not only blessed, but you're gonna get rewarded the most. But term loans, if you take a 5-year loan, let's say an auto loan, that's what you're asking, right? And then you just pay it off 2 years before this. So that can affect you in a negative way. But if your credit is already excellent, you pay everything on time, you have a healthy mix of credit accounts, they're old enough, you have all this available credit, it's going to be a very minimal impact on your personal credit. You're still going to have excellent credit no matter what, especially if you have other accounts to replace. Does that answer your question a little bit? All right. I don't know who's first, but ladies first sometimes. All right, go ahead.
What type of loans are there to take out? Like, is there certain categories for them, and like which ones would be like the best?
Is there a certain what?
Like, is there certain categories for loans? Like, I don't really know like how to explain what I'm trying to say.
At the personal level?
Yeah, and then which one would be like the best one you could like recommend?
To build credit. Like to kind of build credit, to have a little bit of better credit.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So the accounts that are going to impact the credit the most, believe it or not, are credit cards in a positive way. So those are the best things to start with if you're building credit. Then term loans, personal loans could be a secure loan. Secure credit cards, mortgages are great, obviously, and even student loans. But the problem with student loans is that they tend to, a lot of creditors don't use it, as they should to build up your credit. So it doesn't have the impact that other types of loans does. But if you default on them, it'll have the same impact as any other negative accounts, and sometimes even more because they report multiple times. Like almost each semester is a separate student loan. You guys seen that? And you have them on your credit report, and then you get hit all the time. That's a different subject that could be very long. Did I answer your question a little bit? So personal loans, auto loans, they're good. Mortgages and credit cards. But if you don't want to go ahead and take out an auto loan just to start building credit cards is a great way to start. I'm gonna go.
How does student loan affect your credit?
Well, if you have no credit, if you have, like, let's say no other accounts on your credit report, and you only have student loans, that's gonna give you some trade lines on your credit report, and it'll affect you in a positive way as long as they're being paid on time. If they're not paid on time, it'll affect you like any other negative account. It'll be just a negative trade line on your credit report, like if the payments are late or if it's in default, all of that stuff is going to affect you just like a regular loan. Guys, you cannot get rid of student loans. The only two ways out of a student loan, you cannot even put them into a bankruptcy. That I know for sure. Two ways out of a student loan are if you're by death or if you're fully incapacitated or something like that. I mean, they're dead forever. They're not gonna go away, whether you want it or not.
Meaning you always have to pay it back, responsibilities always.
I didn't hear the question. I apologize.
You're saying that meaning that responsibilities always owe unless you die or you're incapacitated?
Yeah. Student loans are very, very difficult to get rid of and to like write off. You almost never get that write off, and you can kind of confirm that. But go ahead.
I have a question now, it's for kind of real estate. So if you have a $30,000 credit card, you want to buy real estate, does that affect your credit score as well?
If you want to buy a $30,000 real
Like,
estate,
let's
with a
say you
30.
buy, you pay the entire $30K on a credit card,
Okay.
because it has low interest rate and has 18
Yeah.
months, all that.
Yeah, it's going to affect you in the utilization. Your utilization will go up. Because you have a $30,000 limit on that card, and whether you have, depending on whether you have other available credit, you kind of cushion that. It's going to affect you. You can tank the credit score. Good news is on my next presentation, I will show you ways that you can use your personal credit to get business accounts, business credit cards that don't report on your personal credit, and then you can use that to buy. That way you always keep your personal credit where it needs to be, rather than just putting it all in on your personal credit. I mean, sometimes you have to, sometimes the opportunities are just too good and you will max out on your personal credit. But if you knew that there was a way to do it differently, maybe you do it that way before maxing out your personal credit. I have some other questions going around there. I don't even know. Yeah, it's tough to keep.
If I'm a young person, can my parents help me establish credit?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. Another strategy that is commonly known is authorized user. You can have authorized user accounts for your kids, and you can start building credit for them even before they come of legal age. You can do that. You can add them as authorized user in some cases. I want to make sure that I'm not. I've done it with our daughter. That's something that you can do early, and vice versa. Your parents can help you as well. There's really no liability to them because they don't have to give you the card. They can just throw it away. There are services on the internet where people charge you just to add authorized user accounts to your credit report. It's kind of questionable whether that's something that's good or ethical, but you can ask people to help you that way if you have resources.
Trade line?
Come again?
Is that like a trade line?
Those are the commonly known as trade line services. Yeah, a trade line is anything that reports on your personal credit. Okay, so even an authorized user account. But its impact, what you can do with it is kind of limited, but it can help you in a lot of different ways. Any other questions, guys? And I know this sucks, but time is like really, I'm glad that we had some questions. I mean, my presentation wasn't that boring, right? Well, thank you all for allowing me to present.